action verbs. And this is something that I've been loving quite a lot, not just for resumes, in general, in your vocabulary, in how you engage with people at work. Super important to talk in this way, where you start with an action verb that drives certain emotion based on a particular intent. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. So obviously, you're going to lead with outcomes that capture vested interest. Meaning, if you're applying for a managerial role, you want to have more leadership type terminology in your resume, and you want to start leading with that. So for example, you spearheaded a project management program across multiple organizations. You supervised multiple levels of engineering teams. So things of that nature, you want to lead with vested interest, because in your resume, they're mapping with what you are able to provide as value to what value they need in their organization. So make sure that you're capturing it, not to beat your drums, but to connect and resonate with the values that they are interested in, or the value proposition that they want. And the way you initiate that is with action verbs. And we're going to go through a few variety of action verbs, which leads to the next one. Keep variety, have variety to keep engagement high. I led the team in X, Y, and Z. I led the cross-org in PQR. I led, if it is the same word used repetitively, which I do have in my older resumes in the past, becomes very stale and dry. And in order to help everyone who's on the call or who's going to watch this later, I have a blog that by intent and by objective lists multiple action verbs that you can utilize. And we're going to review some of those today as well. Use appropriate verbs to drive appropriate intent and objective. And what those are, let's dive in. But before I do, any questions or comments?
No, I was in my mind as you were talking, it would be nice to have a list of action verbs for intent. And then I realized we have that article out on the Grow Your Now Medium page already, which it's very extensive, right? Where you have action verbs for your various intents laid out with details, descriptions. So it's out there.
Yeah, and that leads me to the next one. Use action verbs to promote yourself at work and in your resume. And we have a link to the blog. So if you want to talk about accomplishments, there are a variety of words right here. Achieved, attained, completed, earned, exceeded, gained, obtained. Doesn't sound stale, sounds very colorful, right? So if you have accomplishments, one or two in every job description or work experience that you have a variety of words that you can actually use so that it doesn't sound stale. Let's look at research and design. There are many people who would lean more on the research side of things. If you have a PhD, or even if you don't, if you're doing a lot of research in the organization that you're doing, even if you're in business, you're going to do business research, right? Market research. So you investigated the competitive landscape and identified how much of total serviceable market that you have. Based on that, you were able to drive a strategy doc that was able to increase quarter-on-quarter revenue from 50 million to 100 million. That would be one way of utilizing an action verb. Again, you studied, analyzed, researched, designed, examined, and inspected. Stay tuned, guys. Pay attention, because we have some engagement with the audience. We're going to provide you some code examples, and you'll have to utilize some of these action verbs. And I'll actually have it on the screen, but then have you guys kind of talk to it and give your examples as well. All right, metrics. Metrics are key. I'm like, why didn't I use metrics before in the past, for the same way where it's tangible? Before we get into the types of metrics, and I want to shine some wisdom in how to utilize metrics effectively. I've noticed that everyone has an opinion, and everyone's opinion can be right? It depends on where you're looking. If I draw a 6 on the floor, it might be a 6 for me and 9 for the other person. There's no point in debating that, because it's an angle of approach that you're looking at. What I really like about metrics, and want people to remember this valuable rule: if one person says it's 10 times better, another person says it's 17 times better, why not say it improves 10 to 17 times? Business development thinks that, this customer engagement is going to fetch you 200 million, while sales thinks that it's going to fetch 350 million, 200 to 350 million, because it's only after you attain it, then you know for certain what was the actual amount. By quarter, by year, things like that. But when it's speculative, provide a range. So use metrics to your advantage, and when it's debatable, use a range. Thoughts or comments?
I think that's a really cool idea, because I know many times where I didn't have an exact metric, and I just didn't put it down, because I think if I just had a range that gives you some flexibility and you don't feel like you're lying,
And also seeing some names on the call, I know, they work in sensitive parts of the organization. You cannot come up with dollar numbers, because you have the competition kind of like, okay, they have this client or that part of the market space, and that's the amount. It kind of reveals a little too much. Put percentages and normalize it. So we increase market share from 5 to 10%. So they have to do a little bit of extra work in digging. And if we come across some not positive ways to capture that data, you can't stop people from doing that. But if you want to keep some confidentiality and also provide metrics, percentages are a fantastic way to solve that. You boosted revenue, you improved customer adoption, you enhanced feature performance, you maximized buy-in, you redesigned for improved performance, you reorganized, researched many ways to show how you demonstrated that you improved metrics. Very key. Another favorite aspect of mine, leadership. Did you define a methodology or process that was adopted, ended up reducing bug escapes? That's a definition of a leader. It's a technical leader, maybe not a people leader. You research ways to improve productivity by getting a career coach to join and coach the entire organization. You planned activities that led to brainstorming and reduced time to market. That's another one. You communicated, coordinated, monitored, evaluated, all very strong leadership words. And guess what? I've seen so many people do the right thing, but they fall short in communicating what they've done. Or they're communicating without appropriate language, impactful language. And that's not right. What I mean by that is being seen is sometimes more important than doing the hard work and not being seen. It's a sad truth, right? I would love to do the hard work, be seen, and also get rewarded. And there are ways to do that. And a lot of these are just building blocks and vectors in getting there.